show is part of the Headstuff Podcast Network.
How are you getting on, you sweep? Oh, I tell you, I'm in much better form. Look, take two of the 420 pod is now. Oh God, is it going to end up like take one? No. Listen, pull the green. Listen, your daddy's out there just pulling the greener, son. I don't even know who you are, right? Oh yeah, daddy's out there pulling a greener. I cannot be sure I'm speaking to my son right now, so leave. God, imagine. I mean, am I that far off? Yes. Yeah, I would say a good margin. Gary. Look, I pulled a greener last night, guys. Sorry to be getting off. Full stop. I'm a man of God at the end of the day. I shouldn't be shagging my... If it's not for procreation, I'm a vasectomied man. What? Listen, this is what I was afraid of. No, come on. Just fucking write it out with me, right? You're here as well, right? So anyway, if we're freaking out, we're both freaking out, brother, sister, human, partner, friend. All right, that covers all the bases now. Don't be coming for me. Not that you need to be. I do it with compassion and love. What? Okay, listen. If anyone's freaking out, it's fucking you right now. Seriously, you're freaking out. No, look, I pulled a greener last night trying to do the podcast. And Gary took the wheel. Gary was in full control last night. Was fucking laying. Do you know what he was doing? He was giving out to me about stupid shit, right? That I don't believe. All right, so that's fine. Okay, that's fine. The stuff I don't believe, but then he kept trying to like. So Gary is the voice in my head. It's the thing I stole from Brezzy. If you're new to this whole concept, Brezzy has Jeffrey. All right. Fuck Jeffrey. Ask me. Fuck Jeeves. You don't even remember Jeeves. I feel like this is my new comedy persona. It's just being angry at the people that I know get the references because they're the same people who've been listening the whole time. But just assuming for some reason you're all Gen Alpha and you don't know what I'm talking about when it's literally the same guy. Girl, NB, human, friend. Anyway, what am I saying? What am I fucking... Garion took the wheel and then asked Jeffrey. Yeah, that was it. Okay, so Jeffrey is Brezzy's negative voice that he's named. And I wouldn't even say vilified, just become aware of and ignored with compassion and love. And I call mine Gary, and it comes from a time which a lot of you be aware of, but you young fucking Gen Alphas who don't even know who Jeeves is from Ask Jeeves, the search engine, maybe you don't know the story. Is that I was walking down the road in Reaney, and there was some young fella, some head the ball, some yup bro, as it'd be called now, as you'd call them, Gen Alpha these days. And he was like, oh man, fucking tell you what. And he was like, fucking charging up, doing full fucking Henry Cavill, loading up the fists in Mission Impossible Fallout. He was charging up his fists, shaking them. And he was like, fucking tell you what, when Gary Moore gets here. And you just heard this high screeching voice. What are you going to do when Gary Moore gets here? What are you going to do when Gary Moore gets here? And then it was a tiny young fella running up to him, toughest cunt I've ever seen in my life. And then all of his mates were like, leave it, Gary. And I was like, oh, that must be Gary. That's Gary Moore. And so I call mine Gary, tough little scroat trying to get in there. And what he was doing last night was trying to coax me back with like, here's actually a good idea, he was saying to me. Like, Here, don't mind all that shit I was doing there, slagging you loads, because you're not listening to me now. But here's a really good idea. This is what you should do. And I was like, all right, what is it? And he goes, what you need to do is, instead of having a to-do list, you should send texts to yourself and then say, love you, with a heart. And I was like, that's interesting. That's an interesting idea. I might, it'd be a nice way to say that you love yourself throughout the day. Every single time you forget something, Be like, all right, fuck, I need to call the school about that. Love you. All right. And then I thought, that's amazing. And then I started getting fucking carried away because Gary started steering into the fucking ego, right? I pulled a greener last night and he started steering into the kind of ego. And he was all like, and not only could you do that for yourself, this is what he was saying, you could then start, maybe you could make that, I see this whole texting yourself love you thing being like fucking you're on Oprah talking about this shit. Oprah's not around anymore. But, you're like Mel Robbins, you're on Stephen Bartlett. And he's like, tell me about the love you texts. And I'd be like, yeah, so what you do is you forget something, you text yourself and you just put I love you and a little heart emoji on there. But I was getting carried away. I was like, oh my God, I can make a book over this concept. This is such a genius idea. I could write a book about it. And it'd be like, it's called The Love You Method. Every time you forget something, text it to yourself and say, I love you with a heart emoji. And then I was so preoccupied that I was so confident that this love you method form of a to-do list was such a genius idea, because Gary told me it was, that I actually wrote it down in my notes. And it says, don't mention this on your podcast. You will lose money. And it just says, start sending yourself texts with stuff you need to remember and end it with I love you. And then it says, you could do a book deal, but it'll be a piss take of a self-help book. Yeah, right. Yeah, right, mate. Yeah, you say that. You would totally go for that. You would totally go for, this is Gary, the ego here. Go for me being some fucking self-help guru. Look, I'm telling you this. I'm going to be like my cousin, my Mettler cousin, when he was in the smoking area of Bruxelles, okay? And he was being all fucking Lowry, and shit was kicking off, and he's a big guy, and the bouncer was like, all right, enough of that out of you. And he grabbed the bouncer by the scruff of the neck, and he said, hey, remember this face. Never let me in here again. And I love that. So look, I'm telling you this now, as someone who's been around, I've been listening to this podcast, you're back for the annual 420. Never, ever, ever let me become a self-help guru, all right? Even if I say I'm doing it for a piss take, unless it's really funny, all right? Unless it's very clear it's a piss take. If there's any actual self-help shit in there, never let me do that. I'm telling you that now. As a mate, never let me do that. Another thing never let me do, go on Dancing with the Stars, all right? I'm just not suited for it. I would be a very good dancer, but I'm just not suited for that kind of shiny floor show, all right? So I'm just telling you this now. I'm saying it now. I'm saying it now before Gary gets in there and be like, you'd actually be really good in it. And you'd be really good in the little, interstitial camera bits. Don't ever no, it's not for me. It's not for me, all right? As a mate, never let me on Dance with the Stars. And never, and not that I begrudge anyone who's been on Dancing with the Stars. I've had a lot of phenomenal peers who have had fantastic times on Dancing with the Stars, and it's been great for them, and it's shown a side of their personality that I get to see that a lot of people haven't got to see yet, and I think that's wonderful. And I don't begrudge anyone. I'm just telling you, for me, I'm just telling you now. All right, just don't. Anyway, what was the main thing? Don't let me become a self-help guru. All right, so I fucking tell you what now, I'm having doubts now if someone's not going to steal this whole love you text thing and make fucking, no, look, he's got to get it out of there. I can't be sitting on this shit. All right? Is everyone okay? Hey, I'm not freaking out. You're freaking out. But what else is going on? So I'll tell you what happened, right? I'll tell you what happened, how I pulled a greener. I lost. I had my Vicar Street show and had a wonderful time. And then in the excitement backstage after the show, as you might have seen, I was nursing a Guinness on stage if you were there. Fantastic. I had a wonderful time. Thank you to everyone who came. I was nursing a Guinness on stage for the majority of the show. Absolutely caned it after that. And then I got sick gallons across the next 28 hours. Okay. Got sick gallons. And still managed to keep my shit together, though. Brought the kids to the beach. So, you know, well, sandy mount. Do you know what I mean? But the tide was out. Anyway, what am I saying? Yeah, in the kerfuffle of getting sick gallons, I lost a little vape that I use to smoke weed occasionally on special occasions. Why would that matter in fucking court? But you did purchase marijuana and smoke it. Yeah, but only on special occasions. Like what? And then I started talking about all the real fun times I've got high. After my Vicar Street show, because I was so delighted with it. Okay, fair enough. Go on. Even though I'm walking out fucking cases of ganj with full intent to sell. So in the kerfuffle of getting sick loads, I've lost the vape. And so then yesterday, it was 420. I'm very excited about it. On 420, I get to record the 420 episode. Sometimes I do it. I don't get to do it always on the day. But I didn't have the vape. So I'm like, okay, what would be the best thing to do here? And I went through the kitchen and picked up a potato and an apple. And I looked at them. And I thought, I'm too old to be, I'm too, in this domestic bliss life with the kids asleep upstairs, I'm too old to be fucking smoking weed out of a potato. Not a gaff in my own house, in my own home. You know, I'm not yucking any fucking yums out there. It's absolutely class and tastes like apple a lot of the time. I'm not it's class in the kind of Brian Harvey, everyone should take ecstasy. It's like having a cup of tea kind of way. Not in the kind of I'm going to run myself over in my own car kind of way. Brian Harvey was a singer in E17. E17 was a boy band in the 90s. You might be familiar with their song Stay Now. Look, that's just for the Gen Alphas, and I'm not talking to you. All right, I'm not talking down to you, my fellow peer, who gets all these references, okay? But you are freaking out. And you need to chill. You actually need to chill out right now. All right, I'm getting Gary by proxy just looking at you. Anyway, is any of this making sense? Oh, listen. Look, listen, live. Brian Harvey, fucking, yeah, I had an apple in my hand and a potato. And potatoes might be better off because they're not as juicy. But either way, using a vegetable or a fruit, knowledge is known. Tomato is a vegetable. It's a fruit. Fucking blimped it. Drico, take me back, please. I blimped it. Well, knowledge is known that tomato isn't a fruit, but wisdom's known not to put it in a fruit salad. Knowledge is known that you could make like a one-hitter out of fruit. Wisdom is known that apple's actually for the kids for their lunch. And if any of the neighbours saw you fucking huffing on an apple with fucking tin foil out of it, if any of the neighbours saw that shit, but I will smoke apples in your house. Whew. Anyway, so as to not look weird and to not be smoking from apples, I thought of this. I thought of this. Now I did need internet kind of. I had an idea, a brilliant idea. This is before I was high. I had a brilliant idea on how to make a pipe, and then I looked for online confirmation if this had been done before. But this was my idea before I saw the exact same idea, which I'd never seen before. Gary, chill the fuck out now. Doesn't really matter. Whatever. Basically, just rolling up tinfoil over a pen so that it is round and thick, and then twisting part of the end and tilting it to make a pipe. Now I'm telling you how to fucking make pipes. Look, you Gen Alphas, don't be fucking coming for me here, all right? I'm not enabling, I'm not promoting, all right? I I need the kudos for how good of an idea this pipe is. All right? For people who are interested in that kind of thing. And in twisting it, it actually meant that it kind of closed the hole, which kind of meant that you wouldn't be sucking on any kind of residue, you know? I was fucking blown away by this. And I can't believe, like, the amount of fruit bowls we went through. And we would also end up using the tin foil as a little thing for putting weed into it, you know? And poking holes in that. And I didn't need to do that. We had the tin foil. It's mad, isn't it? You're doing something your whole life. Your whole life. You're doing something for 20 years. You're doing something for about 22 years, right? And you never even think that there's another way, and you just find it at the time that you least do it. Maybe you just need to take a bit of a step back. Is any of this? You're freaking out. Anyway, so I hit that anyway, which was a huge mistake, because it's not the same as puffing on a vape at 180 degrees Celsius for 5 seconds to get a little bit of a whoosh, you know? Because I would only ever do that and then level up from that, you know? Unless I'm at your gaff. I'm talking about when I'm in my home. And I think context is the main factor in freaking out. Like, even if you're just drinking, you know? Like, you have a pint on your lunch break and you go back to work and the walls are spinning, even though you had it with a meal. Because the context of, like, the vibes in this place are at odds with this one pint. You wouldn't even feel a pint, like, at a match, you know? You wouldn't even feel a pint, you know, within the first hour at a pub. But you feel it when you go back. You feel a pint if you had a pint in the car, which I'm not doing, all right? Although I will say, I'm in my fucking car again. Just to let you know, a bit of context for you. It's good vibes in here, but I'm not having a pint. Anyway, if you had a pint and then you went home after just having a pint in your front garden. I'm doing this as a bad example. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sucking on an apple in my own gaff. All right? Anyway, I got too high for my own gaff. It's a kind of high that I could have rided out among friends, watching monkey videos, you know? But, you know, in the vacuum of silence after the children have just gone down, it's a different vibe altogether. It's like one of those, you know, chambers everyone goes insane in. Which, fuck those fucking little simps, little fucking babe. We're freaking out. It's so quiet. Like, do you know what I mean? That's pretty embarrassing now, you would admit that. I think we should all be open with our feelings. But you admitting that, bro, that you were freaked out, how quiet, like genuinely freaked out how quiet a room was, that you could hear, you're going insane over the sound of your own heart. That's pretty pathetic, actually. Anyway, pulled the greener after, actually, and then I realised in retrospect, it looked like I was smoking crack in the back garden, actually, with the tinfoil. So that made things much worse in terms of optics, in terms of neighbourhood optics. Much worse. And that's when Gary was trying to have a go at me. And then kind of, you know, throwing me the odd idea here and there. So when he told me that fucking text yourself love thing, I was all like, all right. And then he was like, oh, and you're a piece of shit. I'm like, you got me there. It's like being pantsed, you know? It's like being presented a rose and then pantsed, jocked, as you'd say here in Ireland where I live. Anyway, so look, that's where we are now. Sorry, I had to get out. I had just, you know, I'm not, I feel like, I feel like in previous years, I've kind of spoken in kind of in simile or around the idea of actually smoking weed. And here I am talking about 3 different methods of smoking weed. But anyway, got a different vape today. We're flying. Don't you fucking worry about that. Know the one that's one too many. The one that's too many is when you come up with a self-help $1 million lifestyle. Industry would be a better word instead of lifestyle. But look, just so I don't freak out, I put a bit of fucking reins in myself today by looking up the weirdest news that I could find. as you know, I'm trying to become more aware of what's going on in the world. Trying to be more aware, more abreast. Chance to be a fine thing. Or a dick. Or I'll be more a dick. I don't want to offend anyone out there. I'll try to be more a cock of the current dealings, or whatever. Attaintive. Chance to be a fine thing. So this is my. I was trying to come up with a pun for like stoner current affairs, and I could not come up with one. And the best one I came up with, reader, is fucking shit. It was current, in parentheses, like air current. I was writing these down, as you can imagine. I wasn't saying them out loud. Air current, in parentheses, as in air current, airs. Then in parentheses again, like air current. And now, that is awful, and it has nothing to do with weed or stoners. And I spent ages on that. All right, but anyway, here we go. I say here we go. I don't have my stuff ready, so talk amongst yourselves there for a second. You just freak out there quietly to yourself. And if you're wondering, yeah, you are. Just if you're having that kind of repetitive thought in your head about you're that kind of person, yeah, you are. You are that kind of person. Sorry. All right, here we fucking go. I found my phone, guys. You're not freaking out. I mean, you are freaking out. I'm not freaking out. Oh no. All right, here we go. Stoner news, current affairs. Current, as in air current. Airs, as in air current. Fucking hell. I'll come up with something better. Okay, Trump's UFO files are very interesting, he says. Now look, we'll just get into the fucking minutiae of the... Also very interesting, he says about everything. I'd love to send him my screenplay, because he wouldn't read it, and he would just say, a lot of great ideas. Would I use that quote for Edinburgh? Do you know what? Look, well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So we don't need to even consider that. Would get a lot of it anyway. Don't even need to. He said that there was a Pentagon UFO review that is well underway. Thought they were UAPs. I can't fucking keep up. Used to be UFO, unidentified flying object. Then UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP. And now they're saying Pentagon UFO review. So, the thing about UAP, when I first heard UAP, I thought it sounded very like OAP. Of course. And because, of course, pensioners are known as old aerial phenomena. Very old aerial phenomena. And what is an actual OAP? Old age pension. Fine. I know these things. All right. But I remember going to the cinema one time, and this was back when they were called UFOs, but I went to the cinema one time and I saw that there was a discount in the Savoy cinema. I remember this like it was yesterday. And I was with my mate Joe. And I remember as well, he had a chicken royale with him. And he was in a rush, so we brought chicken royale with him. And then we went into the cinema. I'll get back to the UAP thing in a second. We went into the cinema, but this was the same day. And he started eating the chicken royale, and one of the people came over and was like, "Can't eat that here." And he's like, "Why not?" And he goes, "Because that's like a burger." And I was annoyed by that, because I used to bring fucking garbage bags of popcorn in and be on fucking red alert. I've been in there like fucking John Rambo. Just give me an excuse to kick off. Just give me an excuse. You don't know what I've been through. Sitting there with genuinely brought like a fucking rubbish bag, as you'd call it here in Ireland, where I live. A rubbish bag of popcorn in. My mate Charlie was mortified. He was a bit older than us, and he was kind of cool, He had like a cool job, but we had all very shared interests, and he was absolutely mortified, and I brought us a big garbage bag full of popcorn. I said, "I got one for you," and he said, "I don't want one." Still would do that kind of thing, but more people think it's weird, and I don't want to embarrass them. All right, that's where we are. So, anyway, he had this chicken royale, and I was fucking kicking off there like fucking John Rambo. Give me an excuse, fucking kick off here, Well, Joe very courteously got up left the cinema for a few seconds and came back in. And I said, "What you do with it?" And I said, "Geez, you ate that very fast." And he goes, "I put it in the bin." And I was fucking so angry with him. I was like, "What? It's a full fucking chicken royale. He put it in the bin." He's like, "Yeah, I don't want the fucking hassle." And then I was like, I think I might even say it's at the top of the bin. But I was there for the first hour or whatever we were watching. Might have been like fucking The Prestige or something, you know? Christopher Nolan's The Prestige. And just fucking fuming for like an hour until David Bowie came on the screen. And that took me out of it. But sulking. Just can't believe that. He didn't just give it to me. I can't believe he didn't let me just take the chicken royale and eat it in the toilet. You know? It was going through my head. Anyway. When we were on the way into the cinema, I saw there was a discount and it said OAPs, whatever, £6. Students and OAPs. And I was like, for a second, I was like, what? Like, these celebrities, like, what is an OAP? And I was like, he's like old age pensioner. And I was like, for like a millisecond, Joe, I was picturing just like much taller kind of people walking around, maybe like the Nords. If you know your aliens, just kind of big, tall. We're the OAPs. We shall not be paying full price. You know? Us and, of course, the students. Us and anyone with a valid USIT card shall be watching The Prestige more cheaply, methink. That's what I kind of thought OAPs were. And they're kind of the opposite, actually, if you think about it. Kind of huddled over, walking slower, not gliding, the way I envisioned the actual OAPs. So I find the whole UAP thing to be a bit confusing for me based on that very small thought I had before sulking about a chicken royale about 18 years ago. About probably 20 years ago. Probably saying no, smoking weed. Trump said to a crowd of conspiracy theorists, "I know you people. You're really into that. I don't know if I am." Which, you know, is a stilted, you know, and an incredibly dumb thing to hear from the President of America. You know, not very eloquent, but, you know, the sentiment of like, "I don't know why you like that. I don't like that. I don't know if I do. I don't know if I like that. I don't know why you guys talking about the football. Oh, you guys seem to really love that stuff. I don't know if I do." You know? Actually, no, when I say it, it sounds fucking pathetic. It sounds like, I don't know if I do. Like I've just entered a chat with a bunch of lads and now they have to comfort me about how I don't like football. That's actually quite emotionally manipulative. At least it sounds that way when I do it. But a congresswoman is literally threatening to subpoena, chance to be a fine thing, the Pentagon over the missed deadline to hand over 46 classified UAP videos filmed over Iran, the Persian Gulf, and the East China Sea near U.S. domestic airports. All right, didn't know they were fucking kicking off over Iran. For some reason, this makes me a bit scared. Because I'm mad scared of aliens. I am actually mad scared of aliens. And I try and act like I'm not all the time. But you got to face your fears by getting really into shit. It says here that some conspiracy theorists believe that some of these undisclosed government documents may have been given to Steven Spielberg ahead of his alien kind of encounter movie, Disclosure Day, which is coming out. So a lot of people think that he got unclassified. I'm sorry, highly classified, files related to the UAPs. And that prompted the idea for Disclosure Day, which I think is the same thing that happened for the Damo and Ivor movie. A former Navy admiral who's seen the UAP says there's near collisions happening and we don't know what they want. And Obama went on a podcast, which I listened to, and said aliens were real. And then he had to immediately walk it back, it says here, that he just meant the odds are probably good that life exists somewhere, which I heard the podcast and that sentiment came across when he said it. Okay, so UAPs are kicking off. They're getting mad cheap cinnamon. The Savoy. What else do they want? In other news, they found, an ape. They found a monkey. I have lots of top 5 lists of things that, of course I adore. I have my Mount Rushmore of Beatles, probably John, Lennon, Paul McCartney, Richard Starkey. You might know him as Ringo, and you Jen Alphas, and George Harrison as well. They made my Mount Rushmore for Beatles, and my Mount Rushmore for. Do you know what? I deserve that, because the next joke I was going to make was fucking awful. So, holy God did that to you now. Made you trip up your words. Okay, an ape. It says here, you have your top 5 things that you love, and I have them across different things. My top 5 pop songs, which includes Aha, Take On Me. Actually, my top 5 songs overall would include Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye, Take On Me by Aha, What You Won't Do For Love by Bobby Caldwell, Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey, and I actually might think fucking Grown On Me by The Darkness. Weirdly. No, that's a weird one. Anyway, we have our list for things, right? But then I think in my top 5 list of everything, of all things, Sexual Healing might still be in there by Marvin Gaye. But one of the things would be people calling apes monkeys. Look at that monkey when they say that. And the banana connotation. I love it. I love when people think that monkeys... I love when people think that apes, which they call monkeys, would just do hand for bananas. I find that so funny. If they rob a bank, they're robbing for bananas. They might even be holding up the fucking cash, the cashier or the bank manager with a banana. They'd be holding a banana like it's a gun. They'd hold people ransom for bananas. If they saw that you had a banana, they'd go crazy. They'd wreck your house if they knew you had a banana. The whole idea of an ape doing that and them being called a monkey, I don't know what it is. It doesn't really have a category, but the whole sphere of that is in my top 5 things of all time, and I include my 2 kids in this list, and then Terry and Sonny and Indy. So it'll be Sexual Healing, the monkey, ape, banana whole trifecta, and then my wife and kids. Anyway, a monkey, guys, as in an ape, was able to imagine a tea party. Okay, this might not sound like big news, because, reader, it isn't. But Johns Hopkins researchers, Johns Hopkins, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the whole thing is there. But I know whenever I read a mention of John Hopkins and his little lackeys, that it's normally quite interesting. I'm being overly transparent here. I know the general sense of what John Hopkins is. I imagine it's some sort of medical center or science center. Some education science center. I should have stayed a bit more. I should have just said that I don't know what it is. They demonstrated for the first time that a bonobo named Kenzie. Bonobos famously love sex, which actually, I've told you about this when I pulled a not even a greener, pulled a whitey. I'll get back to the monkey in a second. Went over to my mate's gaff after in college. I've probably talked about this every year, 420, but it bears repeating. We watched I Rolled a Spliff that was more backy than Ganji. Like hard rocks of hard tobacco. just with like 9 skins, just lapped over each other, blowing in the breeze, like a little paper windmill that you have in your front garden, you know, and just toking on this thing, and just immediately pulling a fucking whitey. And the only thing that would actually calm me down, actually freaked me out at first, there was a documentary about bonobos on, and there was an Irish guy. It looked Attenborough, but there was an Irish guy narrating it. And as soon as we turned it on, you saw 2 bonobos shagging, and heard this Paddy going, "Bonobos love sex." And who's his voice? His voice does not match what this is. This is not Sigourney Weaver or like David Attenborough. Bonobos love shagging, you know. And it showed how male bonobos would also shag the other male bonobos for a laugh, just for a laugh, you know. It's just for a laugh. Just swinging over to a tree, give him a quick like little bum, and then the other one would be like, "Get out of here!" Like slap back at him, "You cheeky fucking bollocks, go out of that." And then he'd swing off, you know. And this took the attention away in my mind of the whitey that I was experiencing. But then I had to leave immediately. I have to go now. We're all laughing at the bonobo shagging, and then all of a sudden I'm standing like the fucking slender, like a pail. I have to go now. I hope you understand. And I got on the dart, and then I got sick on the doors of the dart. So there you go. I'm doing fine, guys, now. Anyway, a bonobo named Kenzie was able to track imaginary juice in a cup, suggesting apes, or as you'd know them, monkeys, can engage in genuine pretend play. Something long thought to be uniquely human. Oh, the hubris of man. Oh, the hubris of man. See, you might read that being a fucking numpty like me and be like, and actually feel that kind of smug, the hubris. What misdirected smugness, the hubris of man. Oh my God, to believe that a simple monkey could not engage in imaginative play. Sure, the whole world is a stage, is it not? Is the whole world we are at play, are we not? Who's this guy? All right, the experiment was a literal pretend tea party. Scientists acted out pouring juice from an empty pitcher into empty cups, and then asked Kanzi, "Where the juice at?" And he pointed to the right one correctly, repeatedly. So this is pretend juice. Glug, 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 glug. Now, Kanzi, they were like, "All right, which one is the juice?" He'd be like, "Well, I've seen you pour juice into a cup, and the only one you didn't hover the jug over, the only one you did was that one." Do you know what I mean? Is he doing that? Is he actually pointing? Is he saying, unless he's like a fucker from Congo, Amy, you know, the monkey that could speak sign language from the movie Congo, Michael Crichton's Combo. Combo? Did I have been saying combo the whole time? Congo. Hit the old 15-second back, see what I said. And do let me know. Because I'm not editing this shit. I'm not editing this shit. Anyway, yeah, unless he's got the Amy glove, which I think was a sort of talk boy, when I think back at it. It was some sort of like talk boy for your whole hand. In the way, a talk boy, you would only put your hand in the little... A talk boy was a tape recorder from the movie Home Alone 2. For any of you Gen Betas out there, all right? Yeah, but it looked like some sort of... And Congo was a movie about people going off to find diamonds, but there being some sort of like monster monkeys out there, but they had a good monkey with them that could speak sign language. And I had a glove that when it signed, it would speak in a child's voice. So if you're asking Kenzie, the bonobo monkey, where the juice at, he's just pointing, Kenzie, or they are just pointing at the cup that they probably would be most familiar with ever having juice in it, or at least be associated with juice. I don't know if that's conclusive, John Hopkins. To make sure Kanzi wasn't being just polite, they ran a test where one cup had real juice and one had imaginary juice. He chose the real juice 14 out of 18 times, confirming he knows the difference between actual and pretend. If he actually knows the difference between actual and pretend, Throw a dig and pull back. See if he flinches. Do 2 for flinching on him. See if he knows the difference. If monkeys flinch, then this whole... let me fucking spark out a monkey, and I'll prove you all wrong. I'll prove you all wrong. I think I'd like to die by being ripped to bits by monkeys. I think. In my bed when I'm asleep. But I'd like people to know that's how I went out. Comfortably in my bed, you know, in my late 80s, ripped to shreds by bonobos. It says here Kanzi died in 2025 at age 44. And these experiments were run when he was 43, a year before his death. I mean, maybe you could have been pointing at ghastly, apparitions, You never know. You never know what he was pointing, because he didn't have the talk boy hand. Scientists are now floating the hypothesis that individual human cognition might not be substantially more powerful than a chimpanzee from an individual perspective. And it might be group thinking that might be our edge. Oh, the hubris of man. Oh, the hubris of man. How could you do that? How could you think that? The researchers' comparison was direct. Jane Goodall discovered chimps, or as you know them, monkeys, make tools, and that led to a change in the definition of what it means to be human. This too invites us to reconsider what makes us special. Third time we've now had to update the definition of human. Well, let me update it now for a fourth time. Scum. Evil. We should all be monkeys. Are we not? Okay, well, that's interesting. Monkeys know pretend juice. But can they dodge this? Oh, in troubling news now, the biggest weed study ever done has just said it doesn't work. The largest review of medical cannabis for mental health ever conducted found no evidence that cannabinoids effectively treat anxiety, depression, or PTSD. Oh no. Oh no. This study reviewed 54 randomized control trials spanning 45 years. This is maybe one of the largest studies in this ever created, and essentially disproving, it says here, that, so it says 27% of people aged 16 to 65 in the US and Canada report using cannabis for medical purposes, with half citing mental health management as their reason. But the lead researcher said it could be doing more harm than good. Oh no, raising concerns of psychosis and addiction and causing people to delay treatments that actually are proven to work. It did find some limited evidence that cannabis can help with insomnia, autism, and Tourette's. But it says here, none of my things. Okay, interesting. Fuck. Don't tell Terry. We can figure this out. You're freaking out. I'm not freaking out. We're not freaking out, but do you know what? If this is the truth, then we need to bury it. We need to fucking bury this shit. Get this shit into Alexandria. And let me go in there with a big fucking spliff and burn the kip down. Oh, someone left their spliff out here and all these in this huge scientific study that we've put back in the Library of Alexandria, because surely there couldn't be another fire. The odds on that. This is a very interesting one. All right, here, this is mad. And it's something that I thought I kind of believed beforehand. Now, I don't know if that's, you get something confirmed. You hear when you're overhearing someone say the correct answer in Trivial Pursuit, that you didn't actually say out loud, but you thought you knew it, but you didn't actually say it, so there's no real confirmation that you actually knew it, because maybe you did anyway. Like say, which Indian wonder was built to honor whatever the fucker's wife. And he'd be like, Taj Mahal. And you're like, oh, I was thinking Taj Mahal. Now, in that's very obvious when you do know it's Taj Mahal. But in some cases, you might not know it's Taj Mahal. And you're like, oh, I knew that. In that, it sounds familiar. And I think a lot of our mental health issues come from doing the things that feel and sound familiar rather than the things that are true and authentic and make us feel good. Hang on. Forget I said that. That's going in the book. Gary. All right. Now, this is a thing about consciousness. The top neuroscientist has just said that your brain might not actually be creating consciousness. A renowned neuroscientist, Christoph Koch is his name. Koch. I doubly believe him now. He stood before a major scientific symposium in Porto in April. I was there, and argued that despite decades of brain mapping, science still cannot explain why any of it feels like anything, and that the brain itself might not be generating consciousness at all. Koch spent decades at Caltech working alongside Francis Crick. Crick and Koch. Oh, you fucking, here comes fucking Crick and Koch. I need more information so I know how to slag them. Francis Crick is the man who co-discovered DNA. So Koch working with Crick, I suppose, would bolster his credentials in some capacity. He's Crick and Koch. Oh, when you get in your little spiral? When you suck each other up and get a little spiral? Who would say that? Why are they at Caltech? Why is that Yupro out in Caltech saying that to these two masters in their field? His preferred theory, Koch. Mine too. Chance to be a fine thing. Not really, no. Did I just come out as gay? His preferred theory, integrated information theory, implies that consciousness might exist in any system with sufficient complexity. A bacterium may have a trace of it. However, a powerful digital computer may have none, because its architecture separates hardware from software in a way that breaks the required integration. So the integration is the factor. Koch put it like this. He slammed it down on the table and said, you can simulate a rainstorm, but it never gets wet inside the computer. All right, Koch, you need to chill the fuck out, bro. Can't fucking breathe. I'm so horny. I'm not. Whatever. What is a joke anymore? Koch put it like this. You can simulate a rainstorm, but it never gets wet inside the computer. Simulating consciousness on this view doesn't produce consciousness. He pointed to terminal lucidity, when dementia patients become suddenly clear-minded right before death, as something that materialism genuinely cannot explain. If consciousness is produced by brain tissue, and that tissue has been damaged or devastated, then the lights shouldn't suddenly come back on. The alternative, he's saying, is panpsychism. Is that like shagging anyone's brain? Panpsychism. I'm a trisexual. I'll try on one's hat. The idea that consciousness isn't something brains do, but it's a fundamental feature of reality that certain systems tap into. Oh! AKA the muse. Like my genius idea to write a self-help book about texting yourself love you. Or a song I was writing the other day about a rap about why we should be putting more eyelashes and lipstick on things to make them hot. Like that $1 billion idea, or euro as we'd say here in Ireland where I live, that was out there, and I plucked it. I tapped into it from the ether. Are we all just tapping into something? Does this also maybe potentially dip into the idea that we are a shared consciousness and that we have barriers that we build up between us, built out of fear and other things? That's very interesting, because we know there's giant mushrooms with a shared consciousness. Well, we don't know that, but maybe this giant mushroom that is the biggest living organism, maybe that has a consciousness. Maybe it's tapping into shit. Why are there spiders? This is all making sense. Okay, last one. A fish the size of your fingers just passed a self-awareness test, says one reader. How you pat? You're a fish the size of my finger who wouldn't even pass a self-awareness test. Example of sort of scum we get sent in. Scientists at Osaka Metropolitan University, OMU, don't know why that's important. It doesn't even say that. I just said that. Okay. I abbreviated it. Initialized it. Discovered that cleaner wrasse, the name of a tiny fish about the length of your finger, not only can recognize itself in a mirror, but can use pieces of shrimp to experiment with how the mirror works. Putting it on his head. They look at me little hat. They look at that. I'm just laughing at the idea of a fish putting a little shrimp on his head with that kind of voice. Same reason you're all laughing. You're all laughing at that. The fish were marked with fake parasites. Fake parasites, yeah, I know a few of them in the fucking comedy biz. Fake parasites, yeah. I met a few of them in the comedy biz. I won't name names, but Shane, Daniel Byrne, and Killian Sunderman come to mind. Then they're fitted with fake parasites and then shown a mirror for the first time. Some began trying to scrape the mark off within the first hour. In previous studies, the same response took 4 to 6 days. They already knew something was on their body and the mirror confirmed it. Okay. Now, is a fish looking in a mirror at a fake parasite and using the mirror to get rid of it proof of that? Or is that proof that on even the smallest scale, when you see something on someone's face, you have to touch your own face or lick a corner of your lip, laying over there. No, you got a bit of cream over there on the side. No, over the, you know, and you start licking. You know, when you start like sticking your tongue out because someone has something on their mouth. You something up there, you know, like you lick the top of your oh, sorry, you've just a crumb there in the corner of your mouth. Over here, and they're getting the wrong side, and you're like, no, this side, you know. It's mad, isn't it? Mad we be doing that. That's a sketch. Write that down. Don't steal it, though. Then some of the fish, or monkeys as you might refer to them, picked up a piece of shrimp, swam upward, and deliberately dropped it in front of the mirror, watching its reflection carefully as it fell. So they didn't use it as a hat. Then they're fucking numpties. Don't mind them. Don't be minding any of this consciousness bollocks. If they didn't put it on their head as a hat, is it even alive? This behavior called contingency testing. Why does it contingency? Was previously thought to only occur in dolphins and manta rays. Hopefully not the one that killed Steve Irwin. I have to imagine that was an act, an animalistic dumb act. That's not an actual term. But the idea that the ray, I don't actually think it was a stingray. All right, manta ray, you're off the hook. A fish with no hands and a brain the size of a pin is starting to do what dolphins do. It summarizes here. The researchers now believe that self-awareness may not have evolved only in a handful of species that previously passed this test. It may be far more widespread, possibly extending to invertebrates. Which opens the question about almost everything alive. This is a philosophical grenade, it says here, because the mirror test was designed by and for primates, it says here, or monkeys as you know them. Designed by primates. That's, if you're one of them John Hopkins fucking absolute phone-it-ins, coming in there hungover, going to the boardroom, the research table, and they're like, we need a test for self-awareness, and you're fucking hanging. And you're like, what if they look in a mirror? You know, and everyone in the room is thinking, why don't you look in a fucking mirror, hack you here? And then the big boss scientist is kind of like, speak more about that, John Hopkins Jr., Nepo baby. And John Hopkins Jr. goes, well, like, it could be like, you know, they look in a mirror and monkeys, I don't know, monkeys should make it up. Monkeys should design the test and then do the test. And we don't do anything, he says in his head, then we don't have to fucking do anything. I can be out of here at 4, get on the bag by 5. He's thinking, you know. So, that's lazy is what I'm saying. designed by monkeys. But very interesting. Very interesting that a shrimp can recognize itself. Very interesting, this theory that consciousness may be something that we tap into collectively. And maybe the connections to that consciousness are different. And the priorities within that consciousness are different, down to the smallest bloody fingerfish. All right, wow, a lot of food for thought there. Anything else? Simulation theory, I find boring. Stimulation theory, on the other hand, is listening to this podcast, which I really hope you enjoyed. We wrote it out, guys. We wrote it out, the two of us. You and me, best friends. You were scaring me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. You were freaking out a little bit. But I'm glad I was here as your ride-along partner in the bitch seat on your motorcycle. And we got through it alive. I did post it on Instagram, but I'm going to post it at the end of this podcast as well. The first take on this episode, where I was just freaking the fuck out. Just absolutely terrified. Just terrified. So do enjoy that. And do check out the show notes, where you can see all of my tour dates. I'm going to be in Cork, in Cyprus Avenue, on Friday. And I'm going to be in the Spirit Store in Dundalk the week after. I would love to see you there. Please come, buy your tickets, and we'll have a great... We bloody have a big fucking talk out the fucking thing. Now I'm only messing with you on because I'll be driving back, but they're going to have a great time. Anyway, here's me freaking out. Thanks very much for listening. Happy 420, everyone. All the best. Bye-bye. Boots and cats and the ones and twos. Whoa. Okay. No, I got this. No, I genuinely don't. I might have to take a while. Then when you just go in, chill out. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
This show is part of the Headstuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Headstuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.